Have you ever looked at the world, all the chaos, the suffering, but also the incredible moments of good, and felt like you're watching a piece of a much, much bigger story? Well, there's a theological concept that says that's exactly what's happening. It's called the Great Controversy, and it frames all of human history as one single epic battle in a vast cosmic war. So, how do we even begin to unpack a concept that big? Well, we're going to break it down into 5 key parts. First, we'll figure out what this controversy actually is. Then, we'll trace it all the way back to its origin. From there, we'll see how it made its way to Earth, look at the consequences of that, and finally explore where you and I fit into this whole cosmic narrative. All right, so first things first, what is this controversy really all about? When you strip it all down, it's not a war with armies and weapons. It's a war of ideas. It really revolves around 2 huge questions. What is God really like? And is his law, his way of running the universe, actually good and fair? So here's the formal definition. The Great Controversy is this cosmic conflict between Christ and Satan. But here's the really crucial part. It's not just some distant battle between 2 supernatural beings. All of humanity is right there in the middle of it. And the things they're fighting over, they're the biggest questions imaginable. God's character, his law, and his very right to rule the universe. And this really lays out the 2 opposing sides perfectly, doesn't it? You've got Christ on one side, whose entire purpose is to uphold and defend God's character and law. And then on the other side, you have Satan, who is defined by his opposition. He challenges God's character, rebels against his law, and wants that authority for himself. It's a total clash over who defines truth and reality. Now, a conflict this massive had to start somewhere, and according to this framework, it didn't begin with us. It didn't even start on this planet. To find the source, we have to rewind way back, before humanity even existed, to a conflict that first ignited in heaven. So the story starts in heaven, and the spark that lights this whole cosmic fire is a single powerful concept: freedom of choice. This wasn't some accident or a glitch in the system. The entire conflict was a direct result of a powerful, created being using his free will to make a decision that would change the course of history forever. And you can literally trace this path from loyalty to all-out rebellion in 4 clear steps. It all begins with that free choice. Then, that freedom is twisted and used for what's called self-exaltation, this burning desire to be God's equal or even his superior. That act is what transforms this being into Satan, a name that literally means adversary. And he wasn't alone. He managed to convince a whole group of other angels to join him. Okay, so you've got this massive rebellion brewing in heaven. But how did that become our problem here on Earth? Well, this is the moment the conflict expands. It finds a brand new arena for this war: our planet. The conflict was essentially imported. The idea is that Satan brought that exact same spirit of rebellion down to the first humans, Adam and Eve, and he talked them into joining his side, into disobeying God. So the sequence is pretty simple, but absolutely devastating. The rebellion starts up in heaven, that rebellious spirit gets introduced to humanity down on Earth, and the immediate result is what's known as the fall, that moment when humanity chose to go its own way. And that one choice, that single act of rebellion here on Earth, is said to have changed absolutely everything. The consequences weren't subtle, they were immediate, they were catastrophic, and they're what shaped the broken, disordered world we still see all around us today. The fallout really hit in 3 major ways. First, the image of God in humanity, that sort of core of who we are, got twisted and distorted. Second, the natural world itself was thrown into chaos. And finally, things got so bad, this whole downward spiral became so severe that it led to the devastation of a global flood. The consequences were both personal and planetary. Okay, so that brings us to right now, to today. If this ancient war is still going on, what does that mean for us? What's our role in this cosmic drama? And are we just left to figure it out all on our own? Well, in this view, our world, it's become a stage. And this is a pretty wild idea to wrap your head around. Earth stops being just a planet and becomes the central arena, the main stage for this universal conflict. We're the ones in the play, and according to this theology, the entire universe, the whole creation, is the audience, watching to see how this all plays out. But this isn't just drama for drama's sake. It all has a very clear point. The conflict is allowed to continue so that, at the very end of it all, the God of love can be fully and completely vindicated. It's about proving his character is true and just once and for all in front of the entire universe. So, with stakes that high, are we just left to fend for ourselves? Well, the answer here is a clear no. The framework says that divine help is given. The Holy Ghost is sent to be a guide, and loyal angels are sent not only to protect people, but also to help and sustain them through this whole conflict. And that leaves us with this final, really challenging thought. If this entire cosmic story kicked off because of one being's choice, and if our world is now the stage where every single one of us plays a part, what does that say about the true weight and significance of our own individual choices? It kind of suggests that the stakes of how we live day in and day out might be astronomically higher than we could ever imagine.